Welcome back to Explicably Inexplicables. In today's episode, we delve into the fascinating world of geopolitics and its impact on global financial markets. I'm Arnav, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Nikhil.
Hey everyone, today's episode is all about understanding the intricate relationship between geopolitics and financial markets. Geopolitical events such as international conflicts, trade agreements, sanctions, and of course political tensions have the potential to create significant uncertainties and fluctuations in the financial world.
Absolutely, Nikhil. Geopolitics is like a puzzle with pieces that seem inexplicable at times. But once we understand how they fit together, we can make more informed decisions as investors and individuals. Let's kick things off with how geopolitical events can cause market volatility.
So, throughout history, we've witnessed how geopolitical events can send shockwaves through financial markets. Remember the oil price shocks of the 1970s during the Arab-Israeli conflicts? Those events had a major impact on global economies as well as stock markets.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. Geopolitical risks create uncertainty, and investors don't like uncertainty, right? It can lead to heightened market volatility and wild swings in investor sentiment.
Right. And I think, in more recent years, we've seen how Brexit created waves of uncertainty in European markets. So for those of you who don't know, Brexit was when Great Britain left the European Union. And of course, let's not forget the US-China trade war, which had investors on edge.
That's true. Geopolitical risks can't be ignored, but they can be navigated with the right strategies. So, speaking of some of these strategies, how do trade agreements and tensions influence economic stability?
So I think that's a great question. And to answer that, I think that trade agreements truly play a crucial role in maintaining economic stability between nations. When countries engage in fair trade, it can lead to mutual benefit and foster global economic growth.
Absolutely. But trade tensions can disrupt this stability, right? So I know, for instance, when countries impose tariffs on each other's goods, it can lead to retaliatory actions and decrease investment confidence. Investment confidence.
Definitely. And I think, investors need to keep a kind of a close eye on these developments, as trade relations can have a domino effect on economies and investment decisions.
Delving into the topic of economic sanctions, right? Countries often use sanctions as a tool in geopolitics, but they can have profound effects on financial markets.
Right, and I think that also sanctions can disrupt the trade flow and investment patterns. We've seen cases where they influence wealth distribution between nations, creating winners and losers in the global landscape of economics.
It's essential for investors to understand these dynamics and consider how sanctions might impact their portfolio. I know something I definitely consider when I'm investing.
Right. That's a good point. And with that said, how can investors really actually assess and manage geopolitical risks in their investment strategies?
I think that's a great question, right? First and foremost, diversification is key.
Agreed.
A well-diversified portfolio can help mitigate the impact of geopolitical uncertainties on individual assets.
Yep, that's definitely a great point. And I think to kind of add on to that, investors should also practice risk management and have a plan in place for different geopolitical scenarios. Something I like to equate this to often is kind of if, you're an individual just trying to take care of your personal finances, you kind of want to have a rainy day fund and plan for those days where, something might go wrong.
I think that's a great point, right? Adding on to that, staying informed is crucial. Researching and understanding geopolitical events can give investors a competitive edge on the market.
Right, and I think with that said, we can dive into some specific case studies now. So, let's talk about the US-China trade war that had a significant ramification on both nations and the global economy as a whole.
Yeah, the trade war, at least from what I remember, affected supply chains, corporate profits, and overall investor sentiment.
Right, and don't forget about Brexit as well, which we mentioned earlier, which caused some of those similar effects in European markets and later across the globe as well.
I guess just looking at both of these events from a bird's eye view, these events, I guess can show us how geopolitical events can have both short-term and long-term effects on investment and wealth distribution.
Right, and I think we can kind of move on and discuss a little bit more about how exactly that happens.
Right, so I guess segueing into international wealth, geopolitical events can influence the distribution of wealth between nations, and I guess you want to add on to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, economic policies and geopolitical decisions play a significant role in shaping income inequality and prosperity, really, on a global scale.
I guess talking about inequality and global economy share. I guess we can take a closer look on how these governments are responding to geopolitical challenges and how it impacts businesses and investors.
Right, and I think, central, aka federal banks, as it's known in some countries, often play a crucial role in stabilizing financial markets during times of uncertainty.
I think that's a great example, right? Geopolitical events have a significant impact on the distribution of wealth between these nations.
Right. Economic policies, trade agreements, and sanctions, which we all mentioned earlier, can also shape the flow of capital and resources across borders.
That's right. When countries engage in fair and open trade, it can foster economic growth and wealth creation for all parties involved.
Right, and I think it's also important to kind of look at the flip side of that. If a geopolitical conflict leads to trade disruptions or sanctions, perhaps, certain countries may suffer economic setbacks, while on the other hand, others may actually benefit.
I think that's a great perspective, right? I guess when wealth is redistributed unequally, it can have a ripple effect on the global economy, right? Income inequality and economic disparities between nations can impact consumption patterns, investment decisions, and even overall economic stability.
Right. That's definitely a great point. I think that geopolitical events can create almost, if you will, winners or losers in the international arena. Some countries may see increased foreign investments and economic growth, while others may experience capital flight and economic downturns as a whole.
And these dynamics can affect not only individual countries, but I guess in a sense also regions and interconnectedness of the global economy.
Right, and I think something that's kind of the key takeaway here is just that it's crucial for policymakers and investors to just recognize how geopolitical decisions can alter wealth distribution patterns and consider the potential implications for long-term economic stability.
Well, folks, that wraps up our episode on the impact of geopolitics on global financial markets.
We hope this exploration has shed some light on the complexities of the global economic landscape and how geopolitics plays a vital role.
As investors, staying informed and adaptable is crucial in navigating through inexplicably turbulent times.
Thank you again for joining us on Explicably Inexplicables. Remember to stay curious and continue exploring the world of geopolitics and finance.
Until next time,
Peace.
peace.